Well, hello everyone. Welcome to Her Time to Retire, where we help women not only with take control of their finances and their future that way, but also to really help grow other areas in their lives. We work a lot with women and business owners, and we want to be a resource. You know, our name, Keystone Financial Resources, we want to be a resource to really help improve the quality of their life in every aspect that we can. And so today I'm excited because we have Tiffany Napper here with us.
Yes.
And she's a delight, and I can't wait for you all to hear her story. I can't wait to hear more about your story. I know that you're a Louisiana gal,
I
and
am.
you have to say gal now that you're in Nashville, right?
That's fair.
And she is an entrepreneur. She's a go-getter, but more than anything else, she really loves what she's doing. She's passionate. I mean, you can just see it all over, and she helps a lot of women really become better at whatever they're doing. So today, really, I want to talk to you, Tiffany. I want to pick your brain about how you got to where you are today. Like, give us the people that are listening a little bit of background about who you are and how you got here and kind of what you're doing today.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here, and this is a great way to spend the morning. And yeah, it's so funny. I didn't used to, or I never set out to be an entrepreneur. I didn't always identify necessarily as an entrepreneur, but reflecting back on the last 20 years, it's very clear that's who I am. And it runs in my family. And so I'm a creative at heart, and I've always had big ideas, and I've always had big dreams. And I didn't always know how that would play out or what that would look like. But now I'm really, really excited to be offering other women advice on how to grow their creative businesses more sustainably. And I use the word sustainable, and in case you think that means like recycling, it means in a way that is easy for you to manage, in a way that doesn't feel like it's causing you to burn out every day, in a way that feels like it's growing and scaling, responsibly.
Exactly.
And yeah, that's what I do now. And I've got lots of endeavors under my belt that I'm happy to share with you and talk about the ups and downs of all of it, because it has not been smooth sailing. But I just couldn't be prouder of just my journey to date.
Yes. Well, I know that, the listeners out there, there's women out there that own their own business, and they resonate with what you're saying about, hey, I'm an entrepreneur. But you also know that starting your own business is scary. Running your own business is challenging because there's just a lot of moving parts and things going on. I know that you spent some time with Yamaha Entertainment.
I did.
And worked with some pretty big artists.
Some names you'd probably know.
Oh yeah, Elton John and some of those, and John Legend. But it, I loved what you said. You said, hey, it was a pretty good gig. You had a great thing going there, and it was a lot of fun, I'm sure. But you really felt like you could make a bigger impact.
Yeah.
Talk to me about the impact. Like what's behind that, and what you can do and help women with, so why don't you share a little bit of that with us?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a pretty pivotal part of my life that I didn't recognize at the time. But it was 2010, end of 2010. When I decided to step away from my full-time position at Yamaha. And I had spent 3 years with them in-house doing some pretty remarkable, incredible things. And I look back and I'm like, oh my gosh, how did I get myself in such a lucky position? But it was also really exhausting. I was on the road all the time. I was traveling nonstop, and I am a natural go-getter, which a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners can relate to. We wouldn't probably be doing it if we weren't go-getters, right?
That's right.
And so I didn't have the skills back then. I didn't have the awareness back then to pace myself, to know how to pace myself, or to know how to take care of myself. And I definitely did not know how to stand up for myself. And so what happened was I reached some pretty big burnout. And I thought, I'll just go start my own business. That'll be easier, as we all, naively do in the beginning. But I wouldn't have it any other way. And I was really fortunate. I was able to stay on with Yamaha as a consultant and contractor for another 7 years.
Wow.
And
while you were starting?
While I was running my own business. And so I really did get lucky, and I really did have a nice little transition there where Yamaha became one of my first clients as I grew my PR and branding agency. But I took the leap, to get back to your question, wanting to make more impact. if anyone's listening and you've been in a corporate environment before, especially on a larger scale with a company like Yamaha, that's an international brand, right? I didn't see a lot of other people like me in leadership positions. In fact, I didn't see anyone like me in a leadership position. And again, I've already mentioned it, but I'm a big dreamer, and I knew that I wanted to make a bigger impact, and I wanted to, have more accolades under my belt and have more wins under my belt and do more things and impact more people. And I just kind of felt like I didn't see a route there with where I was. So going out on my own, I thought, okay, I'll go on my own, I'll spread my wings, and I'll also be able to work with people outside of the music industry. So I started working on films. I started working with other types of artists, painters, photographers, and allowed myself to feel a little bit more well-rounded, and like I said, ultimately make a bigger impact.
I want to come back to something that's jumped out at me when I was reading some of the stuff on your website, which is fantastic, by the way. And I want to hear a little bit more today before we go about what's coming, because I know that you said there's some exciting things coming with that. But there was a word that resonates with us here at Keystone, and that's holistic. Because here at Keystone, we are holistic planners. And when you're building a financial plan, there's more than just an investment portfolio. That's just one piece of the pie. There's 5 other pieces of that. And so what we find is that most people don't understand that. They know they need it, but they don't know how to put it all together.
Sure.
And so that's what we do here. But when you use that word, hey, holistic, I want you to unpack a little bit of that with us.
Sure.
Like, what does the holistic mean? And then, what does that do? What do you do with that?
Yeah. So it's a pretty simple answer, actually. When I say holistic business consultant or holistic business coach, I mean that I'm not just going to sit down and give you a strategy to get to your goals. I'm also going to check in with your heart. I'm also going to check in with your vision. I'm also going to make sure that the strategy we've determined aligns with what you really want in your life. Because there's, more than one way to create a successful business. There's more than one way to make your business more profitable, to bring in more revenue. But it doesn't necessarily mean it's a way that's going to make you happy, or that it's even going to be in alignment with what you set out as a business owner. So, and that's really, really important to me, because I made those mistakes on my own. I started my PR and branding agency because I wanted more freedom. I wanted to be able to work from wherever, whenever, and I wanted to be able to take on whatever client felt good to me at the time. And it was only a few years in before I realized I had created my own little cage for myself. And I had a team of people, and I had graphic designers and publicists and social media managers. And yet I felt responsible for being the first person to the office and the last person to leave, to set that example. And I realized really quickly, oh my gosh, I've put myself in a terrible position. This is not what I wanted. This was not the vision I had when I set out to run my business. Are we profitable? Are we getting bigger clients? Are we doing all these amazing things? Yes, but nobody asked me, to say, hey, pause, let's check in. Like, that is a route you can take for growth, but is that in alignment with your vision and your heart? So for me, that's really important. I'm always going to say, okay, great, we want to make more money, or you want this to be more sustainable or more profitable, but what's your bigger vision? Like, what do you want your life to look like in 3 years and 5 years? And let's make sure those things align.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. We talk to our clients about aligning your money up with your values. Because we can set a goal to, hey, I want to travel and do this, but why?
Right.
Why do you want to go to France?
Yeah.
Why do you want to go to England? Whatever those things are. Yeah. And I think that my experience has been is that life, because life is beautiful, but life can be brutal. And it's like we start living from our head, and we don't ever learn how to live from our heart. Because many times we were told when we tried to do that as a kid, then we got suppressed and shut down.
Yep. So
it's so important, because when you align those things, then the purpose and the meaning, it's like, I see so many people get burnt out. They come in here and they're in their career and they've accumulated this money, but they have no vision. And we tell clients, we're like, look, we're going to challenge you. If you come on board here, we're going to challenge you to live the life that you deserve. It's not just about, hey, you got this money, right? And we're not going to challenge. We're going to fight for you.
Yeah.
And we're going to fight on your behalf, so that you live the life that you desire.
I love that.
And it really sounds like that's what you're talking about. But let's even back up a little bit more, because you said, "Hey, I learned that I didn't know how to speak up for myself. Let's go back there, because I think a lot of people, I find it's like they know what's in their heart, but they don't know how to translate that and get that out. There's fears there, there's doubts, sometimes there's some self-work that we need to do to improve. But what did you do to order to grow in that area, Tiffany, to where you could begin to like have a voice?
Wow. So much work, so much self-growth work. So I'm a yogi, and one of the first things that I kind of realized I'd let fall by the wayside was my yoga practice, which is my self-care practice. And, is it physical? Yes, but it's also mental for me. So when I really realized I was out of alignment and things had gotten topsy-turvy, I made this like big transition in my life, and I decided to enroll in yoga teacher training school. Didn't make any sense at the time, didn't know how I was going to swing it, but that was actually what brought me back to Nashville on a more permanent basis, because I'd been living pretty full-time in New Orleans at that time and still traveling back and forth to Nashville. But I was like, okay, there's a teacher training in Nashville, Tennessee. I'm going to go up there for 3 months, and I'm going to enroll, and I'm going to literally force myself to make self-care part of my day because I'm paying for it, and I have to get this certification at the end.
That's right.
And unfortunately, that is kind of what I thought it would require for me to make that shift. I knew I wasn't just going to magically wake up and suddenly make self-care a priority. And through that process, obviously, that allowed me to check in and to have a lot of time to just like say, okay, what really matters, and how can you stand up for that and be more vocal about that. But backing up even further to my days in corporate world, I was always pretty good at having boundaries. In certain ways, I remember my former boss used to be like, "You've got great boundaries," and I was like, "Thanks," But yet I still really did push myself too hard, and I really did say yes to too much, and I really did carry a load that was. I have a history of carrying loads in positions where when I leave, they replace me with 3 people. Not an exaggeration. Literally, it's happened 3 times.
Yeah.
So was I probably doing too much and not speaking up enough? Absolutely. And I don't know that there's any one like lesson that I've learned that I can say, this is how I, learned how to speak up to myself. I kind of had to go through it a couple of times, see the pattern, recognize that I'm the common denominator, and say, okay, I'm not doing that anymore. And when it starts to feel out of alignment, and when I start to feel like I'm carrying too much of a load, I will speak up and say, I either need more money or some of this needs to be offloaded to someone else.
Yeah.
And that's just something I had to learn through trial and error.
Yeah. There's a friend that he's like a business coach and heart coach for me, not really a business coach, but more of a heart coach for me. His name's Dr. Chip Dodd. I don't know if you've ever heard any of his stuff, but he wrote a book called Voice of the Heart.
Oh, okay.
And it's
I love the name of
phenomenal.
that.
Yeah, just as talking about what the feelings, like what am I feeling, and checking in and having boundaries and being able to take care of yourself, the self-care. I mean, that's so important. As people. Because we do financial planning, and you help clients grow their business and different things, but at the same time we're individuals, we're people, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of times we got to take the time to really enjoy our life and to be fulfilled with a purpose. Because you see these people, I see them all the time. It's like you look in their eyes and it's like it's empty, and there's life there.
Yeah.
It's just been tucked back and buried, and they've given up.
Yep.
And so, I just hope people will, these women, I hope they reach out to you and talk to you, because I know, which lead me into the next thing I want to talk about is like you do some coaching, right? And so, what does that look like? Tell us a little about your coaching and kind of what that process is.
Sure. So I coach creative business women who are already in business. A lot of my clients are already making 6 figures, and they're looking to grow or scale in a responsible and sustainable manner. And a lot of times what we're working on is something really specific, like they'll come to me and say, I want to launch this new division or this new product, or I'm having some team issues. And we'll go there, we'll dive into that, we'll fix that, if you will. But sometimes what we need to do first and foremost is get back in alignment with the vision, just to bring it back to that, because it always is where we start. Like, okay, great. So what was the original vision, or what's the vision now? Because it could have changed, and that's okay as well. Let's get that down on paper, and then let's make some decisions on how do we lead your team better? How do we get them, operating more cohesively? Or how do we launch this new product? Is this new product even in alignment with your vision? Or did you just like have shiny object syndrome, which is what I call it, when you have this, you saw something on social media and it gave you this idea and you thought, oh, I need to be doing that. But you didn't check in and say, but is this even something that I want to do and build for my business? So when I work with someone, the first thing we do is kind of spend some time looking at that vision and doing a little bit of a heart check and going back to the beginning. Whether you're in business for 1 year or 10 years, there's always a moment it's always good for you to go back to the beginning. And then we'll move forward from there. So I do a lot of like strategies with launching, looking for ways to make it more profitable, team leadership skills, and sometimes it's some systems building and recognizing where there's areas where we can put some systems into place to make everything more efficient. But we do always come at it with like this holistic viewpoint of, okay, are we doing these things, and are they in alignment with you as the boss, as the CEO, as the founder and owner of this business? Are they in alignment with the life that you're trying to lead? And so that's kind of in a nutshell what it looks like when you work with me. And I do like a VIP thing that's a 30-day package, and then I have an ongoing like 3-month and beyond sessions depending on what you need.
Well, it's there's so much correlation in what you do and what we do, because it's really about getting to know the people, that you're working with, the families that we're working with.
Yeah.
We have what's called our financial roadmap. And it's like it all starts with a plan, but then you got to take some time to really talk about that. It's not just a plan, but it's like, this is my life, and how's this going to play into where I'm going, not only in the next year or 2 or 3, but even down the road, right?
Yeah.
And get people to really think beyond.
Yeah.
But it sounds like you really come on board and you become, you integrate yourself into their culture.
Absolutely.
But not only that, but you help them really create that culture. In other words, it's coming from them. It's their culture. It's not your culture, right?
I'm just there to help them implement. But I joke quite a bit that you're basically getting a co-partner for as long as we're together. I'm going to help you make decisions, but I'm really just there to be your mirror. I'm there to say, okay, what do you see? What do you want? What do you need?
All of that stuff. And that's so good.
And to take a little pressure off for a moment. Like, I have my own coach. I just worked with her a couple days ago. And as I was sitting there, it was such a good reminder. Oh, I hope this is what my clients feel like. Because it's just so nourishing to feel supported as a business owner, when oftentimes all the burden is on our own shoulders, and we don't always have this like robust team around us. Most of my clients are still operating with pretty small teams, and so hopefully I'm there to bear a little bit of that burden for you for a moment, to take a little bit of pressure off of you, to help you talk through things and make decisions. And it's your decision ultimately, but sometimes you just need that other person and an expert, someone who's been there before, someone who's seen this play out in various other scenarios that can give you some good feedback.
Yeah, well, that's really, really good. I was looking on your website, like your expansion programs. What's that about?
Yeah, so the expansion program is that VIP 30-day program. And it's really for someone who maybe just has like one little thing that they want to turn up the dial on in their business, or they need to tweak. And so they don't need like a long-term, monthly kind of duration with me, but they're like, hey, let's go all in for 30 days. And for 30 days, I'm going to be there with you, and we're going to have these, we kind of usually plot it out over 3 full days of working side by side. And then in between, I'm in there setting your deadlines, helping you implement things, helping you, create the system or the strategy that's needed. And by the end of those 30 days, we have a check-in call. Okay, great. How does it feel? How's it going? What's worked? What's not working? And so it's kind of like a little bit, I call it an expansion program because you're just looking to expand in some capacity. And it's hopefully feels, especially if you're new to the idea of a coach or a consultant, I'm not asking you to bite off too much, right? It's like, you can do it for 30 days. Let's just see how this feels for 30 days and watch what can transpire when you do dedicate your more time to growing your business and becoming that better CEO.
Well, I think that, and I would imagine that the ladies that you work with have seen some, what I would call quantum leap growth. And there's that time of slowing down, sharpening the saw, really getting clarity about what am I doing, what's my real purpose, to where you can really become that laser focus.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
And once people slow down to do that, and I find that, this culture that we live in, it's crazy with all this, the media or the technology is great, but learning to set those boundaries, because it can become a barrier.
Yeah.
Right?
It's great and overwhelming.
And
right?
overwhelming, but to have somebody like you to come along beside them, and I don't know that I've ever met anybody that does what you do, because most coaches will help grow your business. I want to help your bottom line.
Yep.
But yes, that's important. What I'm hearing you say is that if you get what's right in here in your heart first, then all that stuff will come.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
When you get that alignment right, then things just begin to happen.
Yeah.
I think. But were you going to say something?
No, go for it. It is. Well, I'll say one little thing. It is funny that you mentioned that. I've never really thought of it like that, but I will say, like, there's been plenty of times where I'll sit down with a client and they have this idea of what they want to do, where they want to grow, and we'll map it out. Oh yeah, it's super easy to get you from 750 to $1 million. Here's the plan, here's the plot. And I let them sit with it, and they'll come back 2 weeks later. You know what? Maybe that's not what I want to do. Maybe I want to slow down over here and get more in alignment here, and empower my team a little better, and let's just reach for 850 next year. And I'm like, perfect, great. So that is the part that's so fascinating. It's like, that's why I say it's so important. Can I help you make more money? Yes, but is that actually going to give you the life that you want? Because, and I'll just use that example, like the specific client that I was thinking about that was like, oh, it's a really easy path to get you from 750 to $1 million, and here's what you have to do. And when she looked at what she had to do, she was like, oh, actually, that's not what I just told you I wanted for my life. And I'm like, yeah, so here's another scenario we can play out. Here's another path we can take. So yeah, I think it's really important, because otherwise we find ourselves like we follow those steps and then we realize, oh wait, I'm way over here on the map, and that wasn't the destination I was trying to get to.
Yeah, and sometimes what we say is conventional wisdom isn't always conventional wisdom.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm learning.
Yeah.
I've lived so much, Tiffany, from my head.
Yeah.
Because as a kid, I learned how to survive with my skills this way, but for so long, I didn't know how to really. I tap into it every now and then, but I didn't really know how to tap into my heart.
Yeah, and you probably didn't. I mean, I think all of us didn't know how to trust it.
No, no, we didn't know how to trust it. And I'd be so scared even doing this. Okay, it's got to be perfect. I got to say this. I got to follow the script. I got to say everything. And it's like, wait a minute, just be you.
Yeah.
So
much better that way.
Being on a journey of finding. You've been on that, I can tell, and I've been on that trying to really find me, because that's what people want. They just want more of you.
Absolutely.
Right? Not this prefabricated deal.
Yep.
But we were talking about conventional wisdom, and,
Yeah.
and I think it's important that sometimes we have to have the courage to challenge conventional wisdom.
Absolutely.
Because, it's like, that may not be what I need to do, right?
Yeah.
If you want to speak of that, you can. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, you nailed it. And I think, we're in this weird time in life where everybody's stories, everybody's daily lives are on display. And so we're seeing more than maybe we've ever seen before. But it's kind of also creating a lot of confusion versus like giving anyone clarity, and certain ideas are rising to the top, and so then you think, oh, I need to do that. That's the way to success. And unfortunately, what I think that's doing is not allowing people to just kind of find their own path and do their own thing, and trust that there will be success on the other end of that, myself included. I mean, I'm not immune to, these notions that I can get kind of caught up in, like, oh, my business should look like that, or my agency should look like this. And so I think it's just so important to trust and do that inner work and listen to not just like what everyone else is saying, but sit with yourself. I'm a big journaler. I journal every morning. And it's just an opportunity to check in and say, okay, how am I feeling? What do I want today? And am I taking the steps to get me there? Or am I just kind of like doing the busy work that I think I should be doing because everyone else is doing this?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're winding down on our time, but I want our listeners to know how they can find you, because for those of you listening, and you own your own business, I know that you've been able to probably resonate with a lot of things that Tiffany has said today. So do yourself a favor, pick up the phone or get online, or however we find you. We're going to give you an opportunity to talk about that. But make that step, because I'm telling you, I can tell this lady can help you in multiple ways, grow your business, grow your life, and enjoy the journey as you go. So how can we find you? Tell us about that.
Absolutely. So my website is tiffanyNapper.com. On Instagram, I'm at Tiffany Napper. I'm very active over there, and I love having voice memo chats and dialogue. So don't be a stranger. Reach out, connect with me. And you can find my email, my phone number on my website as well.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Tiffany, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah.
I hope maybe we can get you back sometime, because there's still more that we could probably talk about.
We could talk for hours.
Yeah, we could. So I want to thank you, and I want to thank everyone for listening today. Again, our heart here at Keystone Financial Resources is to really help you not only, build a solid financial future for yourself, but enjoy the journey along the way. If you have any questions as it relates to that, then you can reach us at 615-661-9554 or KeystoneFinancialResources.com. But again, Tiffany, thank you for coming, and hope you have a great rest of your day.
Same to you.
You have been listening to Her Time to Retire with Glenn Price and Jonathan Scott. Glenn and Jonathan would love to talk to you and answer any of your retirement questions. All listeners can take advantage of a free 15-minute consultation with Glenn and Jonathan, whether via a phone call, Zoom meeting, or in person. You can schedule your consultation by calling 615-661-9554 or by visiting our website at www.keystonefinancialresources.com. Thanks for listening. The opinions expressed by Keystone Financial Resources and guests on this podcast are their own and do not reflect the opinions of this station. All statements and opinions expressed are based upon information considered reliable, although it should not be relied upon as such. Any statements or opinions are subject to change without notice. Investments involve risk and, unless otherwise stated, are not guaranteed. Past performance cannot be used as an indicator to determine future results. Strategies mentioned may not be suitable for everyone. Information expressed does not take into account your specific situation or objectives and is not intended as recommendations appropriate for you. Before acting on any information mentioned, please consult with a qualified tax or investment advisor to determine if it is suitable for your specific situation. This program is designed to provide accurate and authoritative information with regard to subject covered. Investment advisory services offered through Brookstone Capital Management, LLC, or BCM, a registered investment advisor. BCM and Keystone Financial Resources are independent of each other. Insurance products and services are not offered through BCM, but are offered and sold through individually licensed and appointed agents.